Fringe. Webster's Dictionary says this about the definition of the word fringe. Noun, edge, periphery, border, or margin. What does it mean to be on the fringe? Maybe you feel on the fringe after the Easter hoopla. Maybe you are one who worships in the heart of the sanctuary, but feels on the fringe of faith and fellowship. Maybe you miss the message of the resurrection, too tired, annoyed, rational, or just plain left out. The fringe is tough to deal with. So close, and yet so far. Our gospel reading this morning features a fringe person. Thomas, good old Thomas the questioner. We certainly cannot say that Thomas was a leading member of the congregation. By current standards, he would be classified as a member of the fringe element or even as an intellectual radical. Lutheran theologian Helmut Thielicke points out that Thomas doubts the resurrection, the bedrock teaching of Christianity. Like the other disciples, Thomas became shocked and disillusioned after the Lord's death on the cross. To make matters worse, Thomas was absent when the risen Lord first appeared to the other disciples. Thomas, for whatever reason, missed the boat of resurrection excitement. He missed the joy and satisfaction, the initial smile from Christ's face. Or the other disciples tried to share their faith experience when the resurrected Lord appeared to them. The fact that Thomas the doubter eventually comes around to believe is in no small measure due to the miracle of this tenaciously loving and bearing Christian fellowship. The disciples continued to tell Thomas the news. We have seen the Lord. But Thomas would not accept second-hand information. In fact, to use our parlance, he thought it was fake news. Thomas is a stubborn child of God. He insists on seeing for himself. I have to see Jesus to believe it. Where are the wounds, the nail scars, the Lord's gentle face? The word of the others will not suffice for Thomas. He sits on the fringe of belonging and believing. 8 days after the resurrection, Thomas continues to flounder on the fringe, the margin, the periphery. Though Thomas sits on the fringe, Jesus refuses to let him stay there. Pope Francis says it well in a recent homily. Jesus does not abandon Thomas in his stubborn unbelief. He gives him a week's time. He waits. Christ persists. Christ meets him at the edge. Christ is pleased and patient to do all he can to bring Thomas into the fold of faith. How? The risen Christ shows Thomas the evidence again. Put your fingers here and here and here. Thomas, I may be a week later in coming to you, but here I am. Believe. Thomas eventually moves off the fringe. He breaks out into a bold confession of faith. One of the earliest confessions of faith in the New Testament. My Lord and my God. One of the earliest creeds. It's the foundation of the creeds that we use now. Christ's presence has set Thomas free to believe and tell the good news. Now, more than a week after our resurrection celebration, pastors call today Low Sunday, or the more cynical ones, Letdown Sunday. It's not here today. The risen Christ still dares to come to the Thomases in our midst. Maybe you are a Thomas here today. Maybe you have a lot of questions. Maybe you have a difficult time squaring faith with science. Christ comes to meet you at the fringe of disbelief, despair, skepticism, and question. Christ comes to move us off the fringe so that we too may reach out to others who vacillate on the periphery of belonging and belief too. A little girl named Linda once played on a softball team in the township's recreational league. She was awkward. She lacked fast-twitch muscle fibers. The coach always positioned her in right field because no one ever hit the ball out there in the softball league at that point in right field. The only thing remaining in right field, by the way, was to chase the clovers and dandelions. One day, Linda got fed up with being sent out beyond the action in right field. She planned on not showing up for that night's game. Who needed her anyway? Game time neared that evening. No Linda at the ballpark. Finally, Linda's mother went up to her room, listened to Linda's complaints, and then urged her to go on. Linda, you are a part of the team. So, Linda grabbed her barely broken-in glove and ran down the street to the ballpark. When she arrived, the players of both teams were gathering up their equipment bags to go home, and all of that dust and chalk that you usually see when you put all the things back in those equipment bags. Linda's team had only 9 players, and with no right fielder, they were forced to forfeit. But now, Linda arrived. Everyone cheered. Out clanked the balls, bats, and bases again. Play ball! Dear friends, all players, right fielders and all, Lindas and Thomases, are important for God's people, the church. Even right fielders belong in the center of belonging. We are all essential for the mission of sharing faith in the Christ who is alive, risen, and powerfully in love with his people. There are no fringes in the eyes of God. Only the center, Jesus Christ, in whom we believe, to whom we belong, and from whom we receive life to the fullest. Thanks be to God.